after the first night, you guys all awaken. You're very rested. You hear the sound of all sorts of nature, birds. The island is alive with life. The crew is kind of rousing. People are starting to fuel the fires, and the mess, the tent that has kind of all the kitchen stuff is alive with activity. As of yet, you haven't gotten any orders from anybody, and no one has mentioned, any sorts of plans for the day. But the base camp is pretty well established. So is there anything that you guys want to do before the day begins?
I don't remember what my god's name is now. What the new god's name is.
No, I don't.
It was Denier,
Yeah.
and I said the new name last time.
Yes.
I sort of.
So you feel that the god in this world that most closely aligns with Denier would be Savak Boku.
Okay, Savak Boku, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go to the shrine and pray to Savak Boku and ask him questions if I'm permitted to do that kind of thing, or ask it questions. I don't know if it's a.
You certainly are. What sort of approach are you taking with your effort to commune with Savak Boku?
So there's the shrine that I set up in the last episode, or the last time we met.
Yes.
So that's the shrine I'm going to go to. It's kind of pan-denominational. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my symbol of Denier that I've worn sort of around my neck, and I'm going to sort of place it onto the altar in front of me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of make my prayers to it and say, I know this symbol is not a perfect representation, but it's the one I had from the place that I was. I seek an audience with you to make sure that our views are aligned.
Okay. Are you in fact opening up your senses with spirit magic?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I know it.
I mean, what do I have to lose?
Right.
Okay, so you kind of quiet your mind and you concentrate on this communion. Subtract 1 qua. And you begin to open up your senses. And initially, you sense a lot of spiritual energy in general, like all around you on this island. And it feels like very old spiritual energy. Not the kind of thing that you would sense in like a city, a more modern setting. This feels very primal. And as you concentrate on your question and your connection with Denier and Savak Boku, you sense in the spiritual sight, you sense something happening. You see your symbol, the symbol of Denier, which is a lit candle that is floating above a purple eye, and the purple eye has a triangular pupil.
Yes.
You see that symbol, the spiritual manifestation, but then something starts to kind of overlay around it. And you see the symbols move. You see an eye go up above. You see the triangle from the pupil float down. The triangle becomes a mountain. the eye becomes wreathed in flame like the sun. And the flame from the candle kind of goes behind the eye. And you sense without words that Savak Boku accepts your reverence. Almost as if somehow Savak Boku is indicating to you that there is a connection.
Hold on. Don't know what the fuck just happened. Start video. There we go. And I don't know what happened to our audio.
I can hear you. Can you guys?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it just blipped for us for a second. We're good. Can you hear us?
Go ahead.
No.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So that's what you sense, Durant, as you have this time. Now, this whole process takes like 10 minutes as you were kind of quieting your mind and opening your senses to the spiritual realm and the transformation of the symbols to what you have now come to interpret as Savak Boku.
So I've asked that simple question, seeing if there was common ground. I guess I would go into a follow-up question. What on this island can I do in your honor?
I need to know what the other three of you are doing while Durant's doing this.
So Tuco wants to do a similar thing. He's been like feeling weird, not right, and he thought it would get better, but it hasn't. And so he's kind of lost. So he wants to go do the only thing he knows to do, find like a nature, someplace lots of nature, and just work through his forms and try and get a lot of his energy out and just get to a moment of calm and see if that helps him out at all.
Okay. Well, having kind of surveyed the area before and during the setup of the camp, you know that just to the west, like 100 yards to the west from where the camp is that huge freshwater lake. And you kind of feel yourself heading in that direction. You get to kind of the banks of this lake, and it is the most serene view that you have. It's just, I mean, there's birds and you see movement in the water, fish, that kind of stuff, but it is just quiet. Like the only thing you hear is the sound of the wind gently blowing, occasionally like ripples from the banks of the lake, from the waves. And it actually provides you with a great sense of calm. And you begin initiating the union of your mind and body. And you start working through your forms, and you spend some time doing that, and you feel like this place, though it is unknown to you, that the nature in this place you're able to connect with and feel yourself kind of coming into a better sense of your understanding in this place. Okay. How about Riff? What is Riff doing?
I wonder what my brother is up to over there. I'm gonna go follow him and see what he's doing right now. Make sure he's okay.
Okay.
And so basically, I just get close, not just a respectful distance back, and kind of sit cross-legged on the ground and view Durant, what he's doing, what you just described.
So you see him. It looks to you like he is not moving. I mean, he's like literally just kneeling at this shrine. He seems in a deep meditative sort of state. Physically, it literally just looks like he's doing that. In the background, you hear the sounds of the camp, people doing things. Are you doing anything in terms of magic?
I'm not doing any magic. I'm just relying on my senses. Just especially like if I see some kind of reaction of a movement or something from Durant, just like look around, listen, see any, obvious things that could have made a sound, or if something's talking to him, kind of thing, anything that I see that might interact with him. But no magic.
After a few minutes, you see he doesn't like jerk back or anything, but you see him kind of like nod slowly. He doesn't say anything, but you see him kind of nod.
And I don't hear or see anything
Not with
else,
your
no voice.
physical senses.
Okay.
I mean, if you choose to open up your senses to any of the magic types that you happen to have, whether that's mental or spiritual.
I don't think I'll do that right now. I just want to respectfully observe at this point.
Okay. So you see him kind of nod. You sort of circle to the side. You see his lips moving, like as if he's saying something or talking. But, you don't really make anything out. All right. To Nathan, what is Humphrey doing during this time?
Humphrey is just practicing a little bit of sleight of hand magic for, just that constant movement for maybe one day when he can simply retire and play kids, do magic at kids' birthday parties.
Okay.
He's just wasting time.
Okay. That
Well,
breakfast
gorgeous.
the breakfast is starting to cook and it's smelling real good. All right, back to Durant. Your second question. Still engaging with your spiritual energy, you hear a voice, though you're not exactly sure where it is. It sounds like it's right behind you, like over your shoulder, and the voice says, "This place is very old. There are great secrets here. Things that could be learned. You must find the wisdom to choose what you learn and whether or not you share it and with whom."
I shall endeavor to achieve that goal.
Okay. Do you say that out loud, or are you thinking that spiritually?
I actually, that one I'm gonna let slip out. I actually do say that outwardly.
Okay. A few minutes go by, Riff, and you hear Durant say this out loud.
Yeah, so I do think I want to use crossover spiritual spell, which lets me cross over into the spirit realm, body and spirit, because I want to actually see if I can see anything or hear anything now that Durant has spoken this way. I want to know what he's talking to.
Okay. And that's on your memorized spells. You engage this very powerful ability, this spell allowing you to completely cross over to the spirit realm with body and spirit and fully interact. Minus off 3 qua. You find yourself in the spirit realm. You are looking at effectively what you saw in the physical realm, but you see so much more. And most specifically, you see someone standing right over Durant's shoulder, like right between you and Durant. Now, this figure has very light skin. They look human by all accounts. Very light skin, kind of like light brown, sort of longish, shaggy hair. But they have white feathered wings. And they're wearing like a loincloth. That's it. There's like no clothing. And you are behind this person looking at them as they are standing over Durant. So you can't really see the front of their face.
Okay, is there a way, it's the first time I've used crossover. I'm body and spirit in the spirit realm. Does that mean I am able to move with one or other or both?
Yep.
Okay.
Full interaction.
Okay, so this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to leave my spirit where it is. And if I can, I want to walk physically with my body, not directly at them, but like diagonally, just to see if I can get a better view of maybe the front of this creature.
Okay.
And nonchalantly as I possibly can, now that I'm probably a little bit on edge, seeing this being that I didn't see before.
So here's how this plays out. Your physical body walks parallel to, let's say, but slightly in front of where Durant's shrine is. Durant, you hear somebody physically walking up. You kind of open up your eye a little bit and you see Riff standing there, like looking back at you and the shrine. Riff, your physical body just sees the shrine and Durant.
Yeah, my hope was that I wouldn't attract attention from this being if I walked physically by.
You notice the being turned like a little bit to look at your physical body and then look back at Durant.
So my spiritual body back here saw this.
Yes.
Great. And then my physical body could get a glimpse straight on, like, is there any more features?
No, your physical body can't see the figure.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, obviously. Gotcha.
However, Durant, you hear the voice that's over your shoulder say, that one is related to you by blood.
Yes, my brother. Bum, bum, bum.
Does he share the spirit?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no.
Does he know of Savak Boku?
Not yet. But I can teach him the ways as long as I learn them myself.
There are many gods. There are many divinities. He will find his way. You may share what you will. But if he is of your blood and you trust him, it is your choice to make.
I trust him more so than any of the other friends around.
Spirit Riff sees this figure like talking with Durant.
And here's?
Yes.
So I heard all that. Okay.
Fully hears, yes.
Perfect.
The figure says, I cannot see how it came to be that you are here, but I know that you are not from here.
This is true. I don't know either. I will endeavor to discover the reasons, but I feel that's a long process. And here might be a long stay. It is good to know that I have allies.
He says, you resonate as an old soul. He says, all of you do. when you came here, the divine must have made it so.
I guess it's on us to determine what we do here.
Yes.
And determine first if we want to go back to where we came from, and second, if the price of going there is worth it. And I don't expect those are answers that even divinities such as yourself have a hand in.
I am not a divinity. I am one of the Kai. We serve.
Kai, that's a new term for me. What is the context? You serve, who do you serve?
We serve the gods. We serve the divinities. We were created by them. Riff, you're hearing all of this.
Humphrey's just minding his own business somewhere.
He says, when you came here, these bodies that you are in, they are the same.
As far as I've been able to determine, but I don't think I've done a really deep assessment.
Riff looks in his mirror. When he hears that, Riff pulls out his mirror and looks in it to make sure he still looks like him. Surely he must, because he's been with his friends.
Did Riff have pointy ears before? Riff doesn't have pointy ears anymore.
What?
The things we never thought to check.
Wait, no, he's not even there. I was gonna say Humphrey took a body part check on himself, but never mind, he's not even there.
I think, yeah, I guess for now, Riff is, as much as he's about to freak out, he's gonna just listen in, keep listening in.
The voice continues to speak to you, Durant. You remember before, and your bodies are the same.
As near as I have checked, yes, but I suppose deeper inspection would be in order. I think it's one of those mortal things, right, where we sort of end up assuming that all the parts are there and unchanged without confirming that.
To the best of your knowledge, you are the same. The voice continues. This is curious that I cannot see how it came to pass that you are here. It is also curious and unknown to me why you look the same and you remember before. He says, perhaps this is not the work of the divines.
Well,
When the divines choose to create the reborn, they draw the soul, but the soul does not have memories of the past life. The soul is put into a new incarnation and reborn. This is not the case with you and the others who are with you. I have seen this very few times before. over eons. It is a rare.
And what do you know of the previous times it has happened?
I will not speak of it now. It will be the judgment of Savak Boku to choose when and if to reveal it to you.
Thank you. I understand that there is discovery that I must do.
As I said to your first question, this place is very old. It has not been inhabited by man in a long, long time. That which lives here is also ancient. It is a place of beauty, but also it can be dangerous.
Are there any indications of dangerous places to watch for?
If your eyes are open, sometimes there are places that hold great resonance. You will know them by their spiritual power. These are the more ancient places where you must tread carefully.
I will keep my eyes open. And I will discover things.
As Riff overhears, or the, oh, sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to jump in.
Oh, no, I was done. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Riff overhears the part that talking about that there's dangers. He just muses out loud enough for anyone to hear. I wonder if there's any kind of dangerous creatures or dangerous geography around here. Quicksand, or wish I knew what dangers were in this area.
Are you saying this from your physical body or your spiritual body?
Yeah, physical body. I still don't want to arouse suspicion to that there's a spiritual body behind the Kai, in case it hasn't noticed yet.
The Kai looks to your physical body, and you see he has a very quizzical face. And then he starts to look around and he turns. And when he turns, he looks straight at your spiritual body. And you see a subtle smile appear on his face. He says, be careful. And he's looking straight at you. He says, be careful. Doing that on this island could be very dangerous. He says, there are others who are not like me. Other things here who are not like me, who can come to you in this realm. And you notice when he does that, when he says that, he looks off towards the northwest. And you remember that as the ship was approaching this island, that when you kind of got to the northern tip of the island, you looked out and you remember seeing mountains. He kind of looks in that direction. And then he turns back to you and he smiles. And then he says, almost as if to both of you, he says, I must go now. Heed the words that I have spoken. Seek knowledge as one who is devout to Savak Boku. But remember my warning. Beware and be cautious with whom you share the knowledge that you discover. Always. And you see he puts his hands out at his side and his wings start to flap. And he shoots up into the sky, like faster than anything you've ever seen. Like his wings flapping was almost symbolic. Like there was no lift there. Like he just literally just shot up into the sky. Like you would estimate maybe 5 times faster than a flight spell, for example. And then
Wow.
within moments, he's gone.
At this point, Riff hurries back to join his bodies together and ends his walk in the spiritual realm. And I assume Riff is the only one that saw that happen, or was
Yes,
Durant
you saw
seeing-
that happen. Durant, you didn't see or hear anything.
I kind of feel like Tuco and Humphrey might be doing some other things while this is happening.
Remember they were playing like dominoes or whatever.
Yeah. So by this time, Humphrey, you're having breakfast with the crew. You're doing like magic tricks and stuff. You're like kind of entertaining everyone, and the crew, you know, everybody seems to be in genuinely good spirits. And Tuco, you are deep in your forms, just reuniting your kind of mental and physical strengths. But you get through your morning exercises and you feel that union of your mind and body once again.
I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go get some breakfast.
Yes. So you begin walking back towards the camp. Around the same time, Riff, you and Durant have finished this interaction. You guys also have some hunger naturally. The conclusion of the breakfast, people are kind of cleaning things up. The captain comes to you guys and tells you that he wants to organize 3 small expeditions. And he kind of sits down at the table. The rest of the crew kind of like stands around and everybody's sort of huddled. The captain says, to the best of my knowledge, it will take some time to explore the immediate vicinity. I want to completely check out the north side of this cove and this harbor, as well as the southern side. And I would like someone to check out the perimeter of the lake and perhaps follow the river up a few miles just to see what we're looking at. So I need a group for the north side of the harbor, the south side of the harbor, and for the lake.
The DM's trying to split the party. So bold move here.
Or we just pick one.
Ooh, I like that
as a
idea.
group.
Okay, so we're all there in the room and we were all hearing this?
Yeah, you're all in the big mess tent around one of the tables. So the captain kind of starts dividing up crew members with different people. So basically the way it's going to work is your group would lead one of the expeditions.
Okay.
And just
And the captain
for-
is comfortable with you choosing which one you want to go with. And in addition, he'll send 2 of the crew members with you.
just for recollection, the captain's job is to set up a base camp and get resources. So is he wanting us to look for these resources or the base camp, or?
This is more of a exploratory day in the sense that he wants to be before this base camp that you set up becomes more established. He wants to make sure that there's no like immediate threats, around where you guys are, around the harbor where the ship is to the north or to the south. And also just to make sure that this nice freshwater lake and whatever river that feeds it is relatively safe. Basically, he wants to do, a recon, kind of a sweep of the radius of where you guys are.
Fresh water is our most important thing. We should make sure that that is safe.
I concur. Perhaps the lake is our best point of investigation.
So
Captain is totally fine with you guys taking on that task. he picks out 6 people for each of the other directions to send them. And he tells everyone that he wants them back before dark. So, travel as you will, but by maybe mid-afternoon, or at the latest late afternoon, start heading back, because he wants to make sure, that these areas are relatively safe.
Point of clarification, is Alyssa still with us?
Meta, I don't remember. So I'm going to deposit her with the portion of the crew that's still on the ship.
Okay.
You're gonna banish her out of the situation.
I'm fairly sure that she's still with you, but
Yeah, I know she landed on the ship with us initially, but then we kind of lost track of her somewhere.
yeah, I think she's still on the ship. I'm going to say that she's on the ship, because there's a portion of the crew who's on the ship, and then every few hours there's kind of a rotation. So there's another group that goes onto the ship, and then the people that were on the ship come to land. So the captain kind of has this shift thing set up.
Didn't we also have a bird or something that we named?
Someone's familiar?
Mine, Pierce.
Yes.
Pierce. He's still there?
Yes.
He's
You still have full control of Pierce. So as you kind of head out from the camp, the other groups head north, one group heads south. You guys are 100 yards away from the eastern edge of this lake. Now, you could go around the perimeter to the north, or you can cut to the south. What you see to the north is kind of more open land and some kind of foothills, and a couple small kind of mountain rocky looking things. To the south, it looks more like wooded.
Tuco wants to follow the stream because that's going to be the source of the fresh water.
Well, so the problem is you can't see exactly where the stream feeds into the lake from where you're at.
Okay.
So you don't know if it's feeding in from the north, from the northwest, from the west, from the southwest.
Maybe going more towards the green area would be more towards the water.
Yeah, Humphrey would agree with that.
Okay. So you guys start walking along the end, kind of heading north. You walk for about 5 miles, and it's beautiful, just uneventful. You see animals, you see deer coming down to the what's that?
It's a nice picture. Well done.
Yeah, it's a very serene, like
It's like a Disney movie.
beautiful looking area. Bullfrogs, birds, all the whole thing. As you kind of come around this, the northeast side of this lake, you start to see, looking out kind of as far as you could see, there's foothills to the north, which kind of goes away from the lake, or you can continue to turn west and follow the lake.
If I may, can I attempt to like reach out and just sense spiritual energies around me?
You trying to do?
You absolutely can. Minus off 1 qua.
Okay.
What's your objective?
You're trying to sense danger level.
So as far as you can physically see with the spirit sight, you don't see any spiritual energy around the lake or the immediate few hundred yards that surround you. What you do see to the north, kind of near the foothills, the hilly sort of area to the north, a little bit away from the lake, in the sky over that area, you see sort of like a wispy fog, not a dense fog, but almost imagine as if there were like light clouds that were just floating like 100 feet off the ground. And that's like a half mile away.
I mean, I'll point that out to the group.
So when he says that, I'm going to try and use far senses that I can perceive from a distance within 10 miles.
Okay. So that is your spatial magic. It is that what is that, a level 2 spell?
Is spatial 2.
Yes. Okay. Minus off 2 qua. You look out in that direction after Durant describes this. And indeed, as you see, there's like the kind of the tall grass and, shrubs and occasional trees kind of closer to the lake. But as you look out towards those foothills, you see it becomes less and less green and more kind of like brown and gray, like rocky dirt terrain. But what strikes you the most, you're looking out at about 2 miles away. You notice that these foothills, some of them have like a weird sort of additional hill on top of the hill of rock and dirt.
It is strange.
Right.
We have all this area is so green and lush, but out there by that fog, it is brown and dying. I wonder if there is something bad out there.
I think this is not our objective for the day, but we should keep it in mind for future.
Yes, maybe we should stay near the river, the ocean, the lake, scout that out, and then report back the weird findings to the captain.
Okay. So you guys are going to continue hiking along the lake. You continue for another 5 miles. And finally, as you kind of come to the northwestern side of the lake, you see a huge like river that feeds into the lake. And it's like a 1/4 mile wide. It's moving at a relatively slow pace. Like if you wanted to swim across it, you could. And in fact, you see very densely forested land across this river. It looks like the river that's feeding the lake is coming from the northwest. The water's flowing southeast into the lake. If you stay on the side of the river that you're on, it is kind of grassy, sparse trees and rocky and hilly to the north.
Is it going uphill?
A little bit, yes. It's starting to ascend. And you notice that like a few miles off to the north of where you're at are these small mountains.
Guys, are we going anywhere in particular, or are we just marching around trying to scout out the place?
Just trying to scout out things, and then we need to be back to the captain to report by sundown.
Fair enough. Does there look like high ground anywhere?
Certainly to the north, any of the hills, and then it looks like there's sort of like 3 mountains that are kind of peaks to the north of those foothills.
Do any of those look achievable from a distance and time, line perspective to
Yeah,
get back in time?
the closest one, if you continue to follow the river to the northwest, in another 5 miles, you would be kind of at the base of one of those mountain peaks.
Okay, so I want to say to the group, hey, let's see if we can. I suggest we try to find a little bit of high ground over here, so we can survey the whole area without having to, march around all of it all day.
Can you
Sure.
still,
But can we check the water here first? Has anyone checked freshness of the water yet?
You certainly could.
Riff goes over
Right.
to the lake, to the river. Are we close to where the river is feeding into the lake?
Yeah, you're almost at basically the mouth of where the river feeds the lake.
Okay. Riff goes over to stoop down and scoop some water, sniff at it. Maybe taste a little bit on his tongue, make sure it seems okay.
It tastes cool and fresh, much like the freshwater lake itself, and that the crew had filled several barrels of water with. It tastes, by all accounts, clean.
brother, can you still fly?
I was going to say, yeah. We still have the flute of flappy wings. I used to
That's a good question. I haven't tried it recently.
Can I help me understand the magic situation here? So if I wanted to fly, I don't specifically have a spell that's fly, but I used to. Is there a way for me to pull this off somehow?
Well, there are many ways. There are many ways to pull this off. Now, Humphrey has always felt an affinity with forces, and
Yeah.
whether that's fire, flying, you're fairly certain that you wouldn't have any problem being able to move from one place to another, manipulating the force of gravity, and you could probably move other people. Your confidence is such that you have no issue with that.
Okay, well, then could I move our whole party 200 feet up in the air? And gently in a safe fashion that doesn't end up with us as slats across the ground.
You could absolutely do that. So the base of your spell, the base of your spell operates on the concept of manipulating the energy field around you, and you feel like if you infused that spell with some of your qua, that you could then manipulate the field of everyone around you.
Yes, guys, I've got a great idea that totally probably won't kill us. Okay, I hope nobody's afraid of heights, but you guys want to go after? Yeah, who you guys want to go? You guys want to go up with me?
Leave me behind.
Yeah, okay.
So
Anybody want to come up in
for
the
the
air for a
low,
ride?
here's how this would work mechanically. Your activation of this is the 3 points of qua for the spell, and for each additional person in the field, it's an additional 1 point of qua. So if you're bringing the other 3 with you, it's 6 total qua for you to fly.
Okay. Well, Durant is going to do a hard pass on this, he says. So, any of the rest of you guys want to go for a ride?
Riff, as he's stooping over, was testing the water. He so his hair covers his ears. So he had tried to look at his reflection in the water, not showing anyone else, just to make sure his ears were not pointy again.
Yes,
And then
his ears are definitely not pointy.
He covers them up again with his hair, and he turns around and walks back. And I mean, maybe, but like, do you guys feel different from before? Like before we got here? Is there anything different about you? He doesn't show anybody his ears at this point.
Humphrey does a body check. Does he notice anything different about him?
No. Humphrey seems to be Humphrey.
Sorry, Riff. All my parts are here.
Durant's going to attempt to touch his weird tooth.
Why is he always touching? I'm sorry.
So weird.
Great scheme.
Durant also feels completely human.
Tuco says, I've been feeling
Weird tooth
weird.
is intact now?
What's
Your
that?
tooth is still-
Weird tooth is intact still?
Yes.
Okay.
Tuco says, okay.
Durant's gonna walk over and look at the back of Riff's neck to see if the birthmark is still there.
The birthmark is still there.
Okay.
Yeah, Riff feels for it too as soon as Durant comes over. It's like he's reading each other's minds right now. Brothers.
All right.
How about you,
did
Tuco?
what?
I want to go up. So
Well, Tuco says he's been feeling weird ever since getting on the boat. He doesn't know what it is, but I guess seeing other people look at themselves, he's going to look at himself too, see if anything looks different.
Tuco. Okay, so human-wise, Tuco feels the same. What was Tuco's actual appearance?
He was a human. He was an orphan, so he was different than his master that took him in because they were elves. But he
Right,
was,
the elves raised him, but he was a
yep.
human.
Yep. He had, I don't know, dusty brown hair, green eyes.
So I'll cut to the chase. In the Forgotten Realms, if he were, let's say, Asian, he would have been from the lands of Karatur in the Forgotten Realms. Was Tuco actually Asian?
He was not, but I think the elves were.
Okay, got it. All right. Tuco looks exactly the same.
Speaking of weird, my man Tuco, I don't know, Humphrey. I've got sort of a weird feeling about that direction that you're wanting to fly, assuming that you were looking to the northwest.
no, Humphrey's talking about 200 feet straight up in the air.
Oh, just straight up, just to get
Straight
like
up right now.
okay. Do we all need to go up to splatter distance?
I can do it. I'm just offering the ride.
Tuco's willing to go. He wants to go get better perception of the land.
All right, I'm gonna stay here with my brother.
So
Okay.
to be clear, so that you guys have a sense of time.
Did you
Because-
still have Pierce? Okay.
Some of you actually have a magical understanding of time, and those of you who have at least one level in that would have a very accurate sense of how much time has passed. The hiking along the lake has been hiking, so it's not like there's a beautiful, clear, easy path. Like, you were kind of ducking in and out, going around bushes, and sometimes cutting your way through tall grass. So your travel pace has not been super fast, right? So for every 5 miles that you've traveled, you've spent an hour. So you have basically spent 2 hours traveling thus far.
So it's about noon now.
Yeah, because like the morning kind of started later.
We move
Hey.
fast.
All right, let's go up. I want to go.
Hey,
Let's do something.
guys, I think that if I remember, Edwards wanted everyone back by early afternoon. Did anyone else hear that? Or was it just me?
Before dark, I think he said.
Yeah, he said before dark.
Okay, all right. I just don't want to.
Okay.
I just don't want to get on Edward's bad side, if you know what I mean.
All right, so I need to know if Humphrey is flying everywhere.
Humphrey plus one, and that plus one is Tuco.
Okay,
And Pierce is gonna fly up with him.
okay, so you channel your spell you fuel 1 extra qua, so it's only 4 total qua, and you two shoot up in the air. You are flying.
Is there any sort of sound effect you could make to replicate this?
It's literally like you shoot up in the air. It's incredibly fast. In fact, you're fairly certain that you just moved way faster than your memory of your ability to fly magically before.
Holy moly, okay.
Where do you want to fly to?
I want to fly straight up. The whole objective is to get a
Okay.
bird's eye view, kind of like what you see as your background.
Yes. So you fly 500 feet into the air, and you can see for a long ways. How much you can see could potentially be enhanced, I guess, if you're bringing Tuco.
I'm going to use another 2 qua for that far senses.
Okay. Now, you guys are up in the air. Durant and Riff, you're looking up at them, and it's like looking at a kite way up in the sky. Like, they're small. From your vantage point, and using Tuco's magic, you kind of just are floating and looking around, and it is incredible how much you see. There's, to the north, 3 mountain peaks. There's beyond that, you see forest, like for as far as Tuco's vision can see, for miles. To the northwest, you see a large mountain range, like way taller than where you are right now, and you're several hundred feet in the air. The mountains to the northwest make these ones that you guys are close to look tiny by comparison. To the west, across the river, you see more mountains, but they're not the huge ones that you saw to the northwest. They're kind of medium sized, and it looks like a decent range that goes for many miles. And you see this, and you're kind of interpreting this as Tuco. I'm assuming you're kind of describing what you're seeing. As you're seeing all this, you get the sense that the mountain ranges it kind of are in the center of this island, the north, and then the center of the island. And it seems like that's a higher elevation. And that, to the northeast, forest, to the south, beyond the mountains, perhaps more forest.
What about that one area we saw that had like brown, not green?
Yes.
Kind
so
of,
the foothills, you could
cloudy.
easily see this now. The foothills that are kind of nestled between the 3 mountain peaks that you guys are closest to, the small mountains.
One's to the north.
Yes. Those foothills are 5, 10, about 10 miles wide by 10 miles wide. And you see sporadically, as I mentioned before, but from this vantage point, you could see that there are more of them. You see that some of these foothills at their peak, at the kind of plateau of their peak, have these weird mounds on top of them. And as you're with your enhanced vision, you can see that these mounds don't look like naturally formed, like the foothills themselves. They looked like big piles of rock, like they were placed there.
And can I fly closer?
Yeah. The moment you think about flying in closer, you start just soaring like absurdly fast. Your flight speed per round, by comparison, your flight speed per round is 120 feet compared to 30.
Okay.
So in other words, Pierce is left behind.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah. So like Durant and Riff, you're like looking up, you see Pierce kind of like, circling slowly around Tuco and Humphrey, and then you see like Humphrey and Tuco sort of like turn, and then they just go and they just shoot out
UFO.
towards the foot.
Yeah.
Can I still see through
Yes.
Pierce's eye?
Yes.
I would like to do that.
Do you want Pierce to follow?
Not necessarily follow. I think stay behind, but what I would like to do is I would like to see if Pierce has the ability to sort of notice any oddities in the landscape that perhaps were missed in the nearer area. Essentially trying to locate if there are any like ruins or anything of that nature based on what was said to me by,
What kind of bird is Pierce?
what's that?
What kind of
Hawk.
bird is Pierce? Okay, so I'm going to say that because we don't really have stats for Pierce, but I mean hawks, eagles, maybe have good vision. So we're going to say a perception and perception and survival. So why don't you roll first roll of the game, everybody? Why don't you roll 4d4?
Okay.
And based on the success that you have, I will reveal what Pierce sees, if anything.
He sees rodents to eat. I have rolled 6 plus 4, 10. I rolled 10.
Okay, so that's actually pretty good. You direct Pierce to start kind of flying around you guys on a wider radius. And after a minute or so, Pierce sees something up the river and across the river. About a half mile from where Riff and Durant are, across the river and up the river, where it's very wooded and the trees grow kind of right along the river, Pierce sees what looks like a stone column at the edge of the forest and the river.
I'm going to snap back to myself and say, brother, I have seen a stone column, but half a mile that way. Across the river.
Yes, Pierce, your beloved feathered friend.
Yes. And also I'm commanding Pierce to come back to me at this point too.
Riff says, Durant, my brother, your name is Durant, right?
Yes.
And he says, okay. And he slowly reveals one of his ears to Durant, pulls his hair back.
Durant, you notice that your half-elven brother does not have pointy ears.
This is strange. Your ear is not pointy.
You are my half brother, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's
There's definitely something strange afoot, and don't tell the others yet. I don't want to worry them as we're already in unfamiliar place.
Can I use
One moment. I need to retcon something.
Yes.
It is something that Riff, when you did the full spirit walk, that you would have seen. Two things actually that you would have seen, because I'm assuming one of them was tucked away. Okay. When you were looking at your brother at the shrine and you saw the Kai standing next to him and you walked around, you would have seen that the scarf around Durant's neck and the copper heart necklace both glowed with a spiritual resonance. The color that they glowed, the aura of these things, was a warm golden hue.
Okay.
That's the spiritual like aura that you would have seen on those two things. I guess additionally, though you didn't really say that you would have looked at yourself, but presumably as your physical body walked away from your spirit body,
Yeah.
also would have seen that your longbow glowed with a golden aura, as did the cloak and the necklace. Wait a minute,
All right.
sorry. One more retcon. Where did you get the necklace?
The necklace came from, I don't remember the name of the town now, but it was basically the town that we started from before we headed up to the king who.
Okay,
King
so
who
it wasn't one of the gifts.
No, it was.
Okay,
It was
so the
before that.
necklace doesn't have the same color glow. The necklace glows with like a very light blue.
Okay.
Was the cloak and the longbow were both gifts from
The
the
cloak
sleeper?
and the longbow and a third thing, which I don't remember at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So the cloak and the longbow had the gold
Mm.
glow. The necklace has a blue glow of spiritual resonance. All right, retcon over.
Okay.
Smash cut back to Humphrey and Tuco. The speed with which you fly over is mind-blowing, and before you know it, you're hovering 200 feet above one of these foothills where these strange rocky mounds are. What would you like to do?
Perception equivalent?
Okay, what are you looking for?
What's going on? What the deal with these little weird mounds are? I want to get a sense, is this safe? We're just trying to collect information to bring back to the, Edward, the team.
Okay, I'll give you guys a choice. There are different ways that you could, kind of look at this. On the one hand, you could try to assess whether these are natural, which would be a perception plus nature roll, or if perhaps these are, maybe more man-made and you're trying to ascertain the era or age or, level of technology used. In that case, it would be a perception plus history roll.
You mentioned when I looked at it with Farsight that it looked like they were rocks, but they were placed by something. I want to look to see if there
Yes.
are like paths or stuff that people came to bring these up. Some kind of, if it was man-made, how did the men get it here?
Okay, so that's a little bit different. In that case, I would say you would make a perception plus survival roll, because you're trying to assess like how this was built and if there's paths, you're looking for tracks. Humphrey, I think yours would be more of a perception plus nature roll, probably.
Yeah, but my nature is 0, my survival's 3, so my guess is I would want the survival side of
Okay.
thing. But you know what? But no, I'm with you. I think that's a legitimate. Yeah. So it's what was it? 3d4.
So it's so it's the number the value that you have for perception plus the value that you have for the associated knowledge, which would be
Nature. So 0.
nature. And then add those up. Tell me the result. Tuco, what'd you get?
13.
Woo!
Nice. Mine's an 8 for what it's worth.
Okay. 13. All right. Here's your perspective. What you don't see are any recent cracks. And by recent, I mean anything within weeks or months that wouldn't have been washed away by, rain and erosion. What you do see are divots in the ground that look like they go up to where these rocky mounds, where this rocky mound was constructed. And the divots in the ground are about 3 feet wide by 5 feet long, and they're rounded as if they're not recent, they're old. And there are lots of these. If this were a road, it would be like a pothole. Okay, so imagine like these divots in the earth, and there are lots of them, but they all seem to go up to this mound and then away from it down the foothill and kind of around the valley.
Does it look like there are places for other of these rocks to be placed?
No, you don't gather that. You think that what you're looking at are some kind of tracks. In other words, somehow these rocks had to get up here. But again, you don't see like tracks from a cart or hooves from a horse or boots from a person. You just see these large divots in the ground that are kind of sporadically placed, no more than like 5 or 10 feet apart, but it looks like there were lots of them. And they kind of seem to go down into the foothills and around, and then back towards the north, towards the 3 mountains.
So I would like to do what we call a pro gamer move, which is I want to whip out my crystal ball and ask if we are in any danger around here.
Nice. Time for the crystal ball. Okay. You concentrate on the crystal ball. You see that it begins to swirl. You ask about danger.
Yeah.
You hear a voice. A voice that sounds relatively close in proximity to you, but you can't quite identify where it's coming from. It sort of seems to echo around the area that you're in, and I'm assuming you guys haven't like flown down to this. You're still looking at 200 feet above.
Yeah.
So the voice seems to come from somewhere around you, but it's obviously the crystal ball is what you're using as a conduit. And the voice says, "Do not disturb sacred places."
Does Tuco hear this too?
No. Humphrey's holding the crystal ball. You see Humphrey gazing into the crystal ball, and you see kind of a foggy swirl inside of the crystal ball.
Okay, so Humphrey goes and turns to Tuco and says, "Crystal ball says is suggesting this place is sacred and that we shouldn't disturb it." I don't know. It doesn't give me any more information than that. I'm guessing that this is probably a place we should steer clear of it if at all possible. We should probably get back and tell the
We're but a
group.
scouting party. We should not try to handle anything on our own.
Okay, so you ready to head back, Tuco?
Yep.
Okay, we want to fly back to the group and rejoin the clan.
You fly back in no time. It's you swoop down and just kind of float back. You still feel that you control the energy should you decide to fly.
Sorry, one more time, Bill. What was that?
You still feel basically the spell is still in effect.
Oh, cool.
It's not like canceled just because you decided to fly back.
Okay, then I want to fly. I want to hover maybe about a couple feet over the ground.
Okay.
My feet hurt.
All right. You see that Durant looks like.
Sorry, hold on. We get back and we tell the group what's going on.
Okay, so you fill everybody in. Durant, Riff, they're there. You notice Durant's hawk was flying a little bit further out, but is now kind of heading back towards you guys.
Yep.
Durant, what do you share, if anything?
I guess I'll share with the group that there are ruins, but half a mile that way.
Okay.
Pierce saw a column.
Can we, and then I wanna, so was it anything like the things that like we described, what we saw with the foothills? Is it anything like that?
Is it anything like that? Because I stepped out of the room.
No. What Pierce saw was
It's just single
definitely
column, that was
it was definitely more like man-made looking, not like rocks that were piled, but more like cut stone.
Okay.
And it's across the river. It's about a half mile up and across the river. Or did I say half mile or quarter mile?
Said half a mile.
You said half, yeah.
Do you think that anything about that made it sacred, or because the advice that we got from the crystal ball was don't disturb sacred places?
Well, frankly, I need to get a little closer, but I could detect if it was perhaps spiritual in nature.
Okay. What do we have? What's our time look like in the day?
It is maybe like 12:30, let's say.
Okay, so we absolutely would have enough time to go check out the column.
We would still have to get across the river.
Oh, I know
have-
just how to do that.
I've got my gloves and swimming. Oh, I'm flying. I guess I don't need that either.
Right, and I can extend my quad just a little bit. My God, maybe I could park the sea here. And no, you guys want to fly across the river?
So how does magic work for you here? It works very differently than I'm accustomed to.
And I would say that as well. I'm so used to having to read to perform my magic and my spells from preparation. But here it feels like it's an inherent part of me that I just think, and it appears. I could get used to this.
It is unusual for me because I did not have the abilities you had in the place we come from.
Well, hopefully this lasts.
Abilities were granted from the deities. I asked them for power to do things.
Sounds like
And
a
now-
fun deal.
I don't do that.
It's
Humphrey
interesting.
nods in consolation. You're
It's interesting the way hearing you both of you describe those things, because there's definitely something more like feeling oriented for me here. I don't know. I don't remember having these sort of spiritual, there's like some kind of spiritual awakening or something going on here. But I can see somehow there's different glows about our weapons and our magic. Like this necklace that I used to use this to fly, right? Before Humphrey took over the flying captaining, piloting. It's got a different look than your scarf, Durant, and even my bow. And Riff looks around at Tuco and Humphrey to look at their magic items to see if it's got the same.
So
No, never mind. That was during the spirit walk. Never
yeah,
mind.
I mean, if you wanted to, you can activate just the first level of spirit sight.
Okay, yeah, let's do that just so I know what I'm talking about now.
Okay, so that's one qua, and you look at Tuco. The things that Tuco received. Let me look at this. So things that he received from the Dreaming King
First
were
three things there: bracers, the shining red boots, and the chest pieces.
yeah. So the chest pieces you wouldn't see because I'm assuming they're like in a pouch, but the bracers that he's wearing and the shining red boots have the golden spiritual glow. His gloves do not. They have the blue glow. And his scimitar also has a blue glow.
And Riff sort of reaches out. He doesn't touch the things on Tuco, but he's like gesturing, like right now. I'm somehow able to tap into this. I don't know what even to call it, but your scimitar has a different glow than your bracers, and even your gloves and your bracers. We're definitely dealing with things here that we're not used to. And from what
One
you
more
described,
As you're glancing around, Humphrey has the crystal ball tucked into his bag, right, Nathan? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Somewhere very safe and secure.
So, despite it being in his bag, his there's like a golden glow emanating from like the seams of his bag. Like the crystal ball is glowing.
and there's something in your bag, Humphrey, and it's hidden in your bag, but I can tell it's got this same magical glow, I guess you'd call it, or spiritual glow. I don't know what to call it. But
Okay.
I'm not sure we're dealing with here, but when you guys describe from these mounds, what if there's some kind of native, wherever we are, burial mounds or something like that? I mean, I don't know.
It could be.
Just feeling a little bit weird right now. I mean, more than
So why
usual.
don't we cross the river, check out the column, see if there's anything that gives us any clues about what's over there or any dangers ahead. We make a judgment call past that and maybe head back.
Yeah, the mounds we flew over were too far away, and probably we shouldn't mess with those right now. But
So,
half a
I
mile
agree with
and
that.
getting across the river should not be too difficult.
I totally agree. Is everybody in?
I
Okay.
am in. And before flying with Tuco, Riff tries to use the necklace, which has the flight power, because I'm not sure if
Okay.
he said that. I just want to make sure it works the same that I'm used to.
4 charges a day or something like that.
Oh, you'd already told me 2 times per day. But I still want to use it. I do trust your flying ability, Humphrey, but I just want to do a comparison from what I remember of this necklace.
And was that one
I
able
would
to
trust my
do?
flight ability.
Was that necklace able to do more than one person?
I thought so. Yeah.
I think one charge could do 3 or something like that, but you guys are still flying, right? Bill, they're still flying.
So
Yeah.
Except Durant, you and Durant.
here's the question. Could I believe hard enough to be on the other side of the river?
What? What do you,
No.
what do you mean?
Because I have 3 in mental, so I'm like, can I believe that I am on the other
This
side?
isn't a wish. You can't just will yourself into.
You
I also corporeal, so I don't know if that helps.
As
Skip
far as
spatial.
you know, Humphrey, as
No.
far as you know.
you feel, Durant, you feel like you cannot imagine yourself just instantaneously appearing there. You don't understand how
Okay.
that would work. You feel like
Noted. I have to get-
You feel silly for thinking so.
you do feel, however, like if you needed to swim across the river, that you could do that quite adeptly by simply modifying, your body in a temporary way to have, webbed hands and feet, and maybe
Could I just
build-
make like really wide feet so I can walk across the top of the water with?
you feel like it's,
Shoot.
you feel like your understanding of modifying your physical attributes to make you more adept at swimming is certainly possible. For some reason, you think that that's possible.
I want to see Bigfoot Durant, please. Let's make this happen.
I'm gonna take our shoes off.
I want to see Bigfoot Durant.
So you guys are all flying in one form or another. Humphrey, you channel a little bit more qua, and you're able to uplift Durant. And
Quaffle.
yes,
Today.
you're
Okay.
easily able to do this. You feel like your understanding of it is that you had already bent reality to your will. What's adding a little extra? And you don't feel like it took that much out of you. Riff, when you reach out to the necklace, it's a little unfamiliar at first. Because you feel like when you had when you had attuned to it, you simply had to concentrate and then boom, it worked. In this case, you have kind of a weird mixed reaction. You remember how you operated it before, you try to kind of engage it in that way, but it doesn't respond immediately. It takes a moment.
Sorry, is there a concept of attuning in this system that we are aware of? Or is that like a role play discoverability sort of thing?
I will answer that by saying yes.
Fair enough. Yeah.
A few moments pass, Riff, and you understand now that the magic in the necklace is not something that you're familiar with, but that you can will it to do what you expect it to do.
At the cost of Qua?
No
Qua.
It's just something that you feel like without this necklace, you would not know how to do this.
All right. Well, while he's doing that, I'm going to attempt to turn my ball of clay into a boat.
Oh, nice.
I'm assuming that the simple, like a canoe, basically.
Yeah, I mean the effect is a material too on the clay. So is that enough to form a boat successfully, or a simple canoe?
You feel like you could do this, but that the canoe would sink.
Okay, fair. How big can I make this? Can I just make a bridge that goes across the river?
Can you just shape your? Yeah, how big is the river? That's actually a good question.
Yeah, that's actually a better question. How wide is the river?
Well, are you flying to where, close further upriver to where Pierce saw that column?
I mean,
I thought our goal was simply to cross the river.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, I
because
guess
we're-
we have to walk part of the way there.
Right, and it's only half a mile for.
Yeah, I would walk. Half a mile is walkable.
So remember, you guys are kind of at the mouth, right, of where the river opens up into the lake. So it's very wide at that point. But if you go upriver, it will narrow.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's how rivers work. So yeah, that's good.
Thanks.
So yeah.
Okay.
I guess we'll walk that part of the distance, and then how wide is it when we get to
We still have to figure out. You still have to figure out how to cross the river. I'm so a fan of your big feet situation.
So first of all, to be clear, everyone's flying. You're not walking. So you fly upriver, right?
Wait, not the whole group hasn't agreed to accept. Actually, I should say Durant has not agreed to accept flying
Okay, so everybody else is flying but Durant.
at the moment. Steve wants to be a dick about things.
I mean, I guess Durant will fly if the rest of the group is flying. I did not realize.
I thought
Pressure.
Humphrey had already spent the qua. So if Humphrey
You are
spent the qua,
flying whether you like it or not.
Yeah, no. You guys dragged me along and kicking the screen. I'm like pulled along in this fly. I'm completely.
You don't have to be like 2 feet above the ground if it makes you feel better. So
I will be exactly 2 feet above the ground and like kicking.
that's
Like,
okay. That's
and
rough.
facing the wrong direction.
Do you guys want to fly all the way, since we're all flying, do you guys want to fly all the way there? Or do you guys want to walk?
Or do we want to see what the limitations of the clay ball are?
all right.
I think we're just fly.
Yeah, I think we're already
They'll
flying.
have enough of our shenanigans.
I think that has sailed shipwise. When we come back, we can try.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Let's fly
Let me
to the thing
describe
that we're
what you guys see.
investigating.
you're not flying high up in the air, right? You're flying, a few feet above the ground, but you're moving at a way more rapid pace than if you were hiking and having to kind of duck and bob and weave in between plants and bushes, right? So you're flying, maybe to clear some of the brush, maybe like 10 feet above the ground. In a very short amount of time, you get to the point where you are now directly across the river from that column that Pierce had seen. Now I want you to make perception rolls.
Can I burn a quad to do this, to do the site? What is it again? Like just to see spiritual energy.
Yeah, you could burn one qua.
So are we there? Are we basically at the stone thing?
You are all, no, you haven't crossed the river yet, but I wanted you guys to make a
We're
perception.
close enough to see.
So
So we're walking up with them, we haven't crossed.
We're
Okay,
flying,
copy all.
flying.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
You
you are-
dragging Kig's
Right.
you're still on the
Okay.
east side of the river. Make a perception plus survival roll. And tell me what you get.
So that's six.
7.
Ah. Hold up, I got this.
Nope,
Which
it's
is really
actually
good for me because I've only got a 2 in perception.
6, 10, 12, 14.
Oh,
12.
never mind.
Okay. So
11.
everybody that cleared 10, I'm going to describe to you guys as you hover/fly and get to the point where you're directly across the river from the column that Pierce had seen. You see something. You see in the shallow part of the river, like under the water, but just by a few feet, you see stonework, like ruined stonework. And it seems to extend out into the river. Now the river, moving by, it looks like this is not new. This is very old and is worn away by erosion and by the water. But it looks, there's even like algae growing on some of these hewn stones. And it looks like these stones might have been as wide as 20 feet wide. And it seems to go out into the river.
I'd like to spend some claw, and I'd like to use my concept, the spell of force shield, to create a kinetic barrier around all those ruins. So the water goes around it that way we can see what it is without any water crossing it.
Ooh, interesting. All right, burn that qua.
I'm liking the system, by the way. I think this is cool.
So here's what happens. You're starting from the river's edge.
Yes.
Okay. So Humphrey looks at this and he puts his hands together and he does this, and you see the river starting to divert. He kind of starts to pull a little bit of a Moses, okay? Like the river's diverting around and it's revealing what looks like huge stones. And you see that these stones, obviously this is very old, like just, crumbled, but you see that underneath some of the stones to the side, as you're revealing this, that there were columns, and you see huge wooden posts as well. As if perhaps this might have been some kind of bridge at one point. Are you pushing this all the way out?
It depends how far all the way out it is, but
Well,
yes.
So at a certain point, you could direct this under the water, so allowing the water from the river to flow over it, almost like you're creating a air bubble.
Like a lava tube, but in the water. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to do that. I'd like to see what we can see.
You see that it goes all the way. Now it's not perfectly straight. It looks like, it crumbled and probably some of the force of the water pushed some of these stones, but you can at this point clearly see through your forced tunnel that this was at some point a bridge, and a sizable bridge, like probably 20 feet wide from support to support.
Yeah.
Can I somehow use my knowledge of history to like gather some information about how old this might be?
Or what it might
Or-
be.
Yeah,
Like the whole area.
well, specifically this art that's being exposed.
Unless it's like deeply obvious it's a
I mean,
bridge.
I wouldn't know a lot about history of this world, so that's kind of a reach.
No, but I would imagine like one might have a conceptual understanding of like, oh, these are the sort of, like this could have been a fort or like a checkpoint in the river or something
Maybe
like
an
that.
understanding of what we're looking at, anthropologically speaking.
Yes. Make a perception plus history roll.
That's 7 dice for me.
Jeez,
Do I have 7 here? Yes, I have exactly 7. And it's 4, 8. That was 16 plus 3, 19. 19 total.
Oh my God.
you fail.
All right. I was going to give you, if you had a lesser roll, I would tell you that it was more than decades. Because of the significance of your role, you are looking at a bridge that is centuries old, and maybe close to a millennium old.
Jesus.
Millennium Bridge.
Whoever made this bridge had superb knowledge of engineering. Superb knowledge. Despite the erosion and the wear and the age of these stones, this was clearly constructed with a mastery level knowledge of engineering. Without
Did you say there were wood posts too in the water?
You saw wood posts, but that's not what was supporting this thing.
It's with stone support as far as we can tell.
Yes.
I wonder if this is the same stone as the pillar we
is-
saw.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any indication of like tool marks on the stonework?
Oh yeah, this is absolutely these were absolutely cut stone. The precision and measurements and size of the stonework, like both for the supports and the actual bridge itself, are too precise to be anything but like masterfully cut and measured.
Can you tell, Master Durant, what caused the bridge to fall? Was it age or some other reason?
I mean, yeah, that's a legitimate question. I'll study it with that in mind.
I want to make sure that we're not hyper focusing on a bridge when we should be focusing on crossing it and checking it.
Yeah, but
Okay,
bridge-
so to you it looks like many of what I would call the surface stones that would have formed the bridge itself, many of them seem to be like shattered, like broken into, like destroyed.
do they seem destroyed by intentional means, or do they seem like that was just a function of being in a river and erosion? and age?
Well, some of them show examples of erosion, but some of them seem to have been broken by some means other than simply, wear and tear and collapsing and falling into the river. A good number of them that are kind of centered in the debris are completely shattered or split into.
Yep. It saw some rough times.
Could I don't know how this would work, but could I, does anybody have temporal magic? Because I don't.
I
Riff
do.
does.
No.
Yeah, I've got a little bit.
That's cool.
What's
Two
your
in
level of What's your level of temporal magic?
It's 2.
Yep, I've got a 2 as well.
Could I combine with their mental skills and project one of us, like to see back into the history of this event? What event would happen to this bridge?
Oh, that is cool.
Okay,
Dual casting.
so
Oh,
It's too early in the season to break his game, man.
I'm trying
no,
to
no, game on, fuckers, game on. Here's what you could do, right? Because Durant has a sizable understanding of mental magic. You could, with a willing collaborator, you could link up with one of those two. And while they are using their temporal senses, you could perceive as they are perceiving. So you can't manipulate or direct, basically you can't grant advantage. You can't manipulate what they're going to do, but you could directly perceive through their minds, through a mental link, what they are perceiving. And then in theory, also, you could burn a couple extra qua and you can share that vision with everybody else mentally.
we're gonna have a flashback.
Let's do it. Don't forget we have the brother
So-
advantage too. Come on, let's do this.
Is
What
there
their twin powers activate?
is there a willing participant on the other side of this equation?
It has to be consensual, everybody.
Consent is key.
That's right.
So here's something to consider. Oftentimes, depending on what magic you're trying to do, there is no roll. You're simply activating the spell or the magical effect. If you wanted to engage a spell that was temporal in nature, such as Echoes of the Past, which would be a temporal level 2 spell, you could do that, but you will make a perception plus magic roll, and the success of that may grant you additional insights. All right, so for example, Tuco would have perception. He would have 3 dice to roll with this. Riff would have 5 dice to roll. So Riff may be the better candidate to try to cast this spell.
Tuco doesn't really think he can do magic yet.
That's true, which is actually narratively legitimate because there hasn't been a life-threatening or combat situation that would engage him in that so far.
Brother, might you reach back and attempt to see the history of this place?
Can I do that if I didn't put Echoes of the Past as one of my spells?
Okay,
Does it
so
include that?
technically that would then be an effect. And an effect at level 2 of temporal would cost you 3 qua, which isn't bad.
So it's 1 extra than a spell would be.
No, it incrementally goes up. So like an
Okay.
effect at level 3 is 9 qua. An effect at level 4 is 12 qua.
You get it. Holy crap.
So if you engage that, spend 3 qua, and then I need you to make a perception plus magic roll and tell me the result.
Let's do this, brother. Just tell me exactly what you want me to do.
To look back into the past.
At the bridge. See what happened. Okay. All right.
Brother, hold my beer.
So Erik, did you engage a mental link?
Yeah, I'll engage a mental link that links all of us together to perceive through riffs.
I put on my mental VR glasses.
All right. So
How many qua is that?
so the mind link is 3.
Okay.
Share.
I actually have the mind link spell.
Right. So the mind link spell is only 3. If you want to add Tuco and Humphrey into it, it would be 2 more. So that'd be 5.
All right, yeah, I'll burn it. Sure.
Okay.
And then my claw cost is 3 as well.
Yes. All right. So here's the big roll. Let's see what Riff gets.
So I rolled, sadly, it's not a great average. It was 11 out of 5 dice.
11 is a success. It's short of a full step up, but it's a success. And you're specifically focusing on what caused this bridge to fall, right?
Mhm.
You get this image, and here's how this is perceived. You're like, as Humphrey is still, creating this air tunnel, this force tunnel, you're looking at these different things, and then all of a sudden your mind kind of like rewinds and you see like everything around you, but the rest of the party is gone. You see the river flowing backwards rapidly. You see the bridge emerge from the water and it becomes whole. And then across the river, very hazy, you see at the forest line, you see like arrows being shot out. You can't see who's shooting them, but like lots of arrows, like an army worth of arrows being shot out. And then to the right of you, kind of right where you're standing, you see giants. The giants are like just getting tore up by arrows, but they're hurling these huge boulders at the bridge, and you see the bridge smash, right? And then you see another giant come up with the biggest hammer you've ever seen and just wail on the bridge and like smash these huge stones, and the bridge is collapsing. Like you see this happening, some kind of epic battle. And then and the river flows back, the bridge is gone, and you find yourself back in the present.
Fucking cool.
Is there any way to type, like, based on our experience with giants, if they look like anything like giants that we would have seen in the dreaming?
That is a valid question. Since you were physically in the proximity of where you saw the giants, I'll give you a better description. These giants had white skin, and by white I mean like alabaster, like white skin, with pure white eyes, no pupils, no irises, long, shaggy white hair and white beards. And they were probably 16 feet tall,
Wow.
dressed in very primitive, like just fur loincloth boots, that kind of stuff. No armor. Some of them had like decorative bone jewelry.
They don't look similar to the giants we met before.
They don't
other
look
than the size.
anything. They don't look anything like any giant that you remember from the before. And bear in mind, when you guys, went to the realm of the King Who Sleeps, you saw pretty much every giant.
Yeah.
The king himself, a storm giant. You saw fire giants, cloud giants, stone giants, dumb hill giants. So they don't look like anything that you've ever seen.
Riff turns to Durant. Brother, did we see anything like what you were hoping to see from that?
Yes, because of the mind link, you all saw that.
Yeah.
And it freaked all of you out except for Tuco, because Tuco has a bit of time. So he kind of felt like that was like in some way that made sense to you, Tuco, because it was a battle. And now I'm actually going to have you roll something because Durant set up the mind link. You roll a perception plus magic.
One other question. Before Tuco was able to comprehend our giant language, would he have any ability to hear what the giants were saying to see if they sounded similar?
Well, let's see what that roll is.
You said perception plus magic?
Yes.
So it's just 3. 6, 9.
Okay. It's still a success. It's not an enormous success, but it's a success. The giants had, big hammers. They were throwing boulders. They seemed to be taking the arrows. They seemed to be taking the attack. And you didn't sense in any way that they were attacking back. they seemed to be focused, their strategy seemed to be focused on destroying the bridge.
Right. Was I able to see who the attackers were?
No,
Or the defenders, whatever. Okay.
no. Whoever was shooting the arrows, you didn't see.
But we could see the direction they've been shooting from, right?
Yes, across the river.
Now, here's a question. Could I somehow use perception as part of that relationship?
It's not like NCIS, like, enhance.
That's the idea. Enhance to see if I can determine anything about the attackers.
Say
Or-
that again,
or
Eric.
the-
I'm not sure I understand the context.
He's trying to enhance the memory.
So-
using AI to increase the resolution.
Essentially, I'm trying to see if I could identify anything about the attackers, even if it's just like being able to focus in on like an arrow, determine anything about the arrow.
I'm going to say no. And the reason why is because you do not possess a certain magic type related to that specific query.
Oh, that's interesting.
You do not possess
Huh.
material magic.
I do possess some material magic, I think. No, I don't. Never mind. I have the ball of clay that gives me material. Yeah, I do not have material.
Can the ball of clay determine what kind of arrows? Oh, magical ball of clay.
It's not possible. I'm shutting that down.
You jest, but
No.
I know
Well,
a way that you could do that. I know a way. I think I know a way that you could do that.
Crystal ball, good.
Could I like?
Well,
could I, like, hold up
one
the-
moment. You're in the present. You're in the present. You don't see like arrowheads. You know what I mean? Like you don't see any evidence of the battle that Riff perceived. It's just, it's just dirt and tall grass along the bank. You don't see any evidence.
But you can smell it.
Like, is there a way to like reach out with mental magic and like see echoes of memories? No, that's more temporal. Never mind, that doesn't work.
Really focus on getting this.
The way your
I,
mental magic would work is if there was someone who was actually there at the time, you could totally mental magic them and read all their memories. That would be easy. But by your own accuracy of measurement, you feel like this was maybe 800 years ago.
800, you said?
Yeah, close to a millennium.
Find some of the bones or whatever,
yeah, you ask.
and then you ask them. Yeah.
That's a good point. With spiritual energy, could I detect like if there are any remains in the area?
You want to open up a spirit site? Go ahead.
Sure, I'll bring the one qua to do that. I'm not gonna like dive in and
You scan the area. There's no spirits in the area. There's no spiritual resonance in the area. Almost as if someone or something had tidied up.
Should we go on and see what the pillar was?
So let's just take
Maybe
the L
it's-
on this.
Maybe it's related to the bridge.
Let's do what we came here to do. Let's go check out the pillar. So I
Okay.
suggest that we fly over the water. Hover gently, Eric. Hover gently, Durant, over the water, and we'll go and check out the pillar.
Okay, you do. You guys fly over the river. In moments, you are across, you're on the other side, and you see a stone pillar that's about 4 feet wide on each side, like an obelisk, and it's about 8 feet tall. It looks worn from weather, but it's not like crumbled or destroyed. It simply looks worn from age and weathering. On the other side of it is a stone slab. Like not the riverside, but heading towards inland, towards the forest, is a stone slab. And as you guys are kind of looking at this, in the middle of the stone slab, you see what looks like a disc, a metal disc, like embedded into the stone slab. The metal is an odd appearance. It looks like a very dull gray, sort of like iron, but it has no sheen to it. And yet it also doesn't look weathered. And you see a symbol. You see a symbol on this disc. The closest thing that it looks like to you, it looks like one symbol, not like a series of things. It looks like one symbol that is a circle with a vertical line going through it. Kind of like a bisected circle.
Can I take a marking of it with like charcoal and a paper or something?
Sure.
Whatever I have.
Yep.
All right.
Does it look like a road leading to the pillar?
Symbolically, maybe.
Touch it.
Because we had the bridge. Is that a road leading to the bridge?
I'll tell you that you're looking back at, the river where the bridge had been. And the line definitely aligns in that same direction. It lines up aiming at the column and outward towards the river where the bridge had been.
But on the river side of the column, there is no pavement.
Nope. Just the same things that you saw before. So the same rubble underneath the water from where the bridge had been. And it looks like if the bridge were still intact, that this column would have been, and the slab would have been kind of right before you went onto the bridge. Before you lies a forest, a very dense and old looking forest with a ton of undergrowth.
And does the road or pavement, whatever it is, does it sharply stop or does it kind of fade into the undergrowth?
You don't see a road.
Well, whatever the pavement is behind the pillar.
It was just a slab, a 4x4 slab that was abutted against this tall obelisk.
Okay.
Are we in the direction where we're going? Is it going towards the northwest or are we going in a different direction totally?
So technically, the river went kind of west, like northwest, and the crossing would have gone the opposite direction. So, directly across, like southwest to northeast.
Okay.
So you're now facing the woods across from the river. So you're kind of facing southwest.
Are there any signs of paths through here, like maybe that animals made, or does it look like anything has traversed this area recently-ish?
We'll say that you take a little bit of time and, you using those who have survival, if you kind of look around and kind of go in a little bit, you would, after a little bit of time, maybe find like a deer path. And there's certainly, birds, rabbits, squirrels, whatever.
But nothing that looks like it was eroded down into the ground, or no sort of man-made excavations for a road.
No, none whatsoever.
I'm debating whether or not I just want to touch the symbol to see if I can make a magical connection to it to gain any insight. This seems like a very safe thing for me to do. So I wasn't using that hand anyway.
Detect magic.
Could I use perception and magic to look at the symbol and try and figure out if there's any magical connection with the symbol?
You certainly could.
All right.
I mean, you can just touch it.
So that's 7 dice again for me.
Yes.
So I guess we're doing this.
Godspeed, my friend.
That is, let's see here, 3 4s. So that's 12 plus another 4 is 16, 17, 18. 18
And to be clear, just to be clear, did you have anything activated? Were you still concentrating on the spirit site that you had activated across the river?
If you'll allow me to have done that, yes, I would have, but I
Okay.
didn't clarify.
So it clearly is magical. Like it has a spiritual resonance. It has kind of a blue glowing aura as you look at it with your spirit sight. It is clearly powerful magic. What kind of magic it is, you don't know. You are not familiar with this kind of magic.
Cool.
And by you, I mean Durant.
Yes.
Yes, cool. I will say powerful magic, don't recognize.
What
Anyone
time
else?
is it?
Somebody with other magic might want to look.
It is, it's 1 p.m. It's afternoon.
So we still have some more time. We don't have to necessarily head back yet. We'd be like 3 hours. Well, yeah, for 3 hours or so to get back. If we walk.
Yeah, and Humphrey wants to full send and do this. He just wants to maybe he's like, guys, hold on, let me see if I can take a slab of it. He touches with his right palm on it. See if he gets anything out of it.
Touching it does nothing.
Well, shit, all the skeletons are coming out of the
Yeah,
tower.
right.
Are you activating any level 1 of your magic types to assess this? It is, after all, a physical or material object.
Well, then I shall activate a very similar realm of magic. Yeah, why not? We can do a level 1. I'll burn a claw on it.
Okay, so you activate your material magic senses,
Yes.
which allows you an enhanced understanding of the physical properties of things. And you immediately recognize that this physical thing, this disc, is not like any metal that you think you've seen. It is incredibly durable, like maybe even unbreakable.
How did that thing get carved in the first place?
It also does not seem to weather, like air, like oxidization, like, water. Nothing, none of those things has an impact on this.
So the symbol on it, is that carved or is that like painted on there?
No. It's forged. Like it was poured that way.
Part of it.
Would activating any deeper levels make have any reasonable expectation of better knowledge on this?
No, I mean, it's not necessary. You literally know that whatever this metal is, it is extraordinarily durable. It is resistant to weathering, and it is extraordinarily, like, nearly unbreakable.
Is there any way that we can do a check to see, does the rough age of the obelisk and everything around there match the rough age of the bridge?
Yeah, with temporal magic, you certainly could.
Sake. Okay, never mind. Only we had somebody that could read my thoughts and then do that. Never mind.
I mean, you can always out loud.
Now,
Man,
to be clear, you guys are still mind linked, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. We are.
So
I forgot to drop that.
As Humphrey has expertly analyzed this strange metal, and you get a sense that it is indeed magical, but you're not sure what kind of magic it is. Do any of the rest of you want to try to assess what it is or what its powers may be?
So Tuco is in tune with temporal stuff. He has a 2, but does he know enough to just look at it and use it, or does he have to think, I have to try and do something to make this work? Because if he has to try and do something, he wouldn't do it because he doesn't think he could do it.
I'm going to say make a perception plus magic roll.
6, 8.
Ooh, that is on the spot.
Nice.
You're thinking about this as you are mind linked. And it's not so much the temporal side that Tuco becomes curious about. It's the spatial side. You keep thinking about what you had been thinking about. What is the connection between this and the bridge? The bridge is, in fact, a connection across a river. You were the one that noticed that the symbol and the line through it was sort of symbolic of a path. But as you're staring at this and you're receiving the mental insights from the other members of the party, you occur that this is more of a spatial thing. Subtract 2 qua.
So who knows spatial things? Because that was
So
I do.
Tuco has spatial, which is why at this moment, almost unconsciously, as you yourself were thinking about how that symbol kind of looks like a path and there's the bridge across the river and they line up and what does this mean? You're looking at this symbol and you realize that the magic infused in this disc is in fact powerful spatial magic. As your qua infuses your ability to perceive this, you begin to understand that this connects to other things that are not close by. You begin to understand that this disc is almost like a waypoint for those who know how to find it
Fast
to
travel.
magically travel to this place.
Can I try and push this newfound spatial understanding and focus it in on the symbol?
You do. And you, for some reason, you see that this particular symbol, that there are others like it.
What?
There are
I'm
others
telling you.
like it, and not just on this island. There are
This is
others.
the part of the movie where like Tuco like takes off his glasses and lets down his hair and realizes he's pretty. Like this is his awakening. I love this.
There are others like it, and each one has a signature. Each one has a specific, almost think of it as like a unique coordinate. And this one, now, with your spatial perception, you have this spatial coordinate locked.
So if I knew the spatial coordinate of another one, I may be able to get there.
You may be able to perceive there. However, you feel like your knowledge of spatial magic has not yet reached the level where you could magically transport yourself using waypoints. But you now understand the beginning, the glimpse of how this could work.
Now, do we all get this perception and the sudden awakening through the mind link?
So
He's gonna give us all too. So,
you guys at the most primitive level, because of the mind link, you understand that this thing is kind of like a waypoint and that there are others like it and that you could perceive to them or through them and maybe even transport to them. But unless you have spatial magic, you'd have no idea how you would actually be able to do that.
Would Durant remember that Tuco has ruby slippers?
Yes, of course.
They're on.
Slippers.
And that is the perfect place to end this session of the Dads.
Well, hello, and welcome to Bill Allan World. I am Wizzy, the Wizard. I'm back once again to remind you to subscribe and click on the notifications button, and also watch videos that are over there. Tune in to the next episode of whatever show you were just watching, and watch other shows featuring Bill. He made me say that because he's a narcissist. Okay, bye.